All right, we're live. Thank you for watching. Thank you, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is James Nicotine. I'm the media advisor for the Ocean Decade, and I'm joined here today with Ambassador Peter Thomson, Special Envoy of the UN for the Ocean. And today we're gonna have this very short but sweet Facebook Live where we'll be asking Peter some questions about the Ocean Decade. So I'll start immediately with asking Peter about his role. As a Special Envoy, what is your role globally? What do you actually do?
My role as the UN Secretary General Special Envoy for the Ocean came about as a result of the first UN Ocean Conference, which was held in 2017. You'll recall that that conference was held to support the implementation of SDG 14. Member states were worried that the ocean did not have a one home in the multilateral system in the way that, say, agriculture has FAO or health has WHO. So the appointment of the envoy was a device to marshal coherence within the UN system to make sure that we're all working towards the implementation of SDG 14.
Very good. Thank you. So, in a way, if there's such a thing as an Avengers team, you're kind of the Captain America, or you're kind of more Iron Man?
I'd say Aquaman.
Good answer. Good answer. So if there is such a thing as an Ocean Avengers, and so what is the Ocean Decade? I mean, we've heard a lot about this Ocean Decade, this UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. What is this Ocean Decade?
Okay, first, can I just say that there are two things. One is the UN Decade for Ocean Science, and the other is the UN Ocean Conference, which is being held in 2020 in Lisbon. Both of these two happenings come from resolutions passed by the United Nations General Assembly by consensus of all 193 member states. So the conference in Lisbon next year, the UN conference, is mandated by every one of us in that sense. Likewise, the UN Decade for Ocean Science, which runs from 2021 to 2030, is mandated by the General Assembly. It's mandated by all of us. It belongs to all of us. We can talk, if you like, about what the content of that decade will be.
Sure, absolutely. So Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. Tell us a bit more about that, the sustainable development part, the ocean science part. How do they feed into each other?
The strong part of the decade is that this is not just science for science sake. Right? If you see the logo here for the decade, the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. Science with societal implications and applications. So if you think about ocean science and everything that's happening in the ocean that's affecting us, I mean, think of coral, think of plankton, think of ocean currents. All of these are really existential things for us at this time of great change in our planetary systems because of climate change and greenhouse gas emissions and what that's doing to the ocean. All of this relates directly back to the ocean science for sustainable development work that will be done during the decade. In other words, that we are building up ocean science information which will allow us to make the necessary decisions to give us the workable solutions in these changing times. So it has direct implication to society, this science work that will be done during the decade.
Because of course, up to 2 billion people rely on the ocean for their livelihoods. We have mangroves storing carbon, corals doing the same. We're seeing incredible change from climate change in the ocean, also biodiversity loss, overfishing. What can we do in simple terms to address all these issues at the same time? Is this Ocean Decade going to solve all these crises?
I believe that 2030 is what we're working towards with the Sustainable Development Goals, what we're working towards with the decade. And let's also remember, it's about when IPCC has told us we reach the tipping point if we carry on our current track. So 2030 becomes, for all of us, an extremely important time, and it's only 12 years away. These are very challenging times, and it's why we have to have things like the ocean decade. If you think about ocean's problems, I like to think of them in 5 things. And the first is pollution. Everybody knows about plastic, but all the other aspects of pollution. And the second one is fishing and all the bad aspects of fishing, overfishing and subsidies and all the rest. Those 2 I see as eminently fixable by 2030. And because they're basically man management, pollution and fishing. And so let's get down to that, and we are getting down to that. The other 3 are more pernicious. The other 3 are all climate change related. Ocean warming, think death of coral, think rising sea levels. Deoxygenation, less and less oxygen in the ocean, that's still trending upwards. And that makes life more difficult, obviously, in the ocean. And the third one is ocean acidification, which is due to the CO2 dissolving into the ocean and making the oceans more acid and making it harder for calcium-based life in the ocean, like shellfish or vertebrates. So those 3 all have one common cause, which is our greenhouse gas emissions. Our emissions, humanity's emissions since the industrial age began. And even if we do everything right tomorrow in terms of cutting those emissions, we're still going to be dealing with those 3 trends for the hundreds of years to come. All the more reason why we have to deal with them immediately. So the great challenge for the ocean, if you want to do the right thing by the ocean, is cut GHG emissions.
Thank you, Peter. And then one last thing for our viewers. Everyone's wondering behind this camera, watching their screen, how do they take part in this decade, in all these environmental actions? How do they contribute? Do you have an answer for that?
First of all, everybody's a consumer, and most people in the world are voters as well. So you dictate who's going to go into government. And look, there is no escape from the challenges that we are facing. And those challenges are being confronted at multilateral levels, national levels, regional levels, right down to community levels, and it comes down to us as individuals. Do you still own a car? I don't. I haven't owned a car since 1990. I hate the internal combustion engine and what's done to our planet. I will never own a car again, so please don't give me one. Yeah. Okay. So secondly, beef. Have a look at beef. My wife and I, sitting in New York a few years ago, said to ourselves, do we love beef or do we love our grandchildren? We saw the stats. We knew what beef was doing to the planet. So we gave up beef. Now, these sound like big sacrifices. They're not. I'm far happier relying on public transport and walking than having the hassle of owning an internal combustion engine vehicle parked outside or wherever I go. I use public transport, and it's much more user-friendly for me as a person. Likewise, having forgone beef, I don't miss it at all. There are so many other nice things to eat which are more environmentally friendly. So, individuals, we can make these choices. I'm not saying everybody has to do what I've done, but I'm saying that, you can do things which will improve. And, obviously avoiding plastic is another big one.
So, behavioral change, I think it's down to all of us to implement that. I think it's also down to the private sector to implement the infrastructure, the supply chains, so that the consumers have that option, and making it affordable for them as well, because a lot of the time all these products are more expensive. So I think this concludes our talk today. We'll just have a final words of wisdom from Peter.
Look, all I would call for on behalf of the ocean is that we, human beings, do what is necessary to restore our relationship with the ocean to what it used to be once, which is a relationship of respect and of balance. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, everyone. See you later.